Hey everyone, welcome back to another Ask Mevo Anything. I am Joseph Capehart, the Senior Technical Specialist here at Mevo, and I'm super excited to be back with another Mevo Live. It's awesome because unlike our last, 2 months, it's been without Will. So I'm extremely happy to have Will back into the fold when it comes to our live show.
Hey, I'm happy to be back too. Hey everybody, Will Kirkpatrick, Technical Specialist here at Mevo. And today we are going to get into a lot of great stuff with the Multicam app, so I'm really excited to get to that.
That's right. So as always, make sure you put your questions in the chat. Let us know how you're using your Mevo. Let us know, how you want to use the Mevo. If you have any content that you're shooting with your Mevo, go ahead and hashtag Mevo Camera. That way our marketing team can get a hold of it and we can see that, and then they can potentially use it moving forward. For today's production, we're going to be using 3 Mevo Starts. We may actually use the one over here, but I'm not exactly sure if that's something we want to do. We'll see. We'll see how the show goes. But we have this Mevo Start in front of me. This is running NDI 1080p, 15 megabytes per second, and it's running wirelessly. And then Will's also using a 1080p NDI wireless as well, doing the 15 megabytes per second. We are going through Streamlabs OBS. For audio, we've got 2 SM7Bs that are going into an Xenix audio mixer. I believe it's the 1201. I'm not positive, but it's an audio mixer. You can treat them all the same pretty much. But that audio is going output directly to the Mevo Start. The one in front of me is running all of the audio for both of our cameras. That way the Mevo is going to go ahead and handle syncing and all of those things. For the overlays and everything, as you've seen before, those are all done in Streamlabs for today. That's what's cool about Thursday's show. We get to actually do some screen sharing and get a little bit more advanced in what we can offer with things like Streamlabs and stuff like that. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get into a couple of questions, and then afterwards, we'll let Will take it away. He's going to get into some multicam stuff. All of the multicam demonstrations that he's done up until this point have been in the multicam beta group. But now that version 1 is out for multicam, we're going to have him go through and show everybody what multicam can do. And I'm telling you, it's a lot of really cool stuff. So Lance says, could give a quick once over on the countdowns. I can make them, but getting them to go live, I'm missing something. Actually, Will, can you throw up the Mevo 2.0 app real quick? And then he might be able to just go ahead and demonstrate that for you right now. Let me go ahead and see what we've got. Let's go to landscape with you. There we go. Perfect. Look at that.
Nice. There we go. All right. So countdowns. So countdowns are something that you require the Vimeo subscription, whether it's premium or producer. And then you can see the button in the bottom right-hand corner, the easel. And then you can go ahead, press the plus, and as you can see, you've got countdown as an option. I can say just 1 minute. And you can set a background image, or you can just leave the color as is. You can change the color. You can align your text. Let's just leave it like that. And then here we go. It just loads onto the SD card. It's very important that you have a micro SD card plugged in. And then there we go. Now you can see in the top right, I've got my countdown.
Now what I think is really cool about this is that these countdowns like this, you essentially have the freedom to, basically you can set it on whether it's a timeline, right? You can either set and say, I want you to count down to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or whatever, and it goes off the device's clock. So I guess you don't technically set the time zone in the app, but you can set it, say, count down to 2 p.m. and it'll start the countdown from whatever the time is until then. Or you can say, and we have multiple set up. We have one for 2 p.m. If some hiccups happen, we also have another one that's set for 3 minutes. So you can either set a timeline or like just a simple duration and handle the countdowns from there. Jeff Young says, I love his multicam demos. I'm telling you, I do as well. I think his multicam demos are great, and that's why I'm so excited to have him back. That way, we can share with the masses what multicam brings to the table. And with now, we have the screen sharing, so you can see all of it, and a little bit better than how we've been doing it in the multicam beta group. So now that we've got the Thursday Mevo Live setup done, as you can see, we've got this new setup, we've got his window set, and now we can actually share and show you everything, crystal clear images instead of shooting down from a camera. So I mean, let's see one more. Let me get this question with Jeff real quick, and then I'm going to hand it off to Will and let him just take over. Jeff says, how do we know what has to be done in 2.0 versus the multicam software? Is there a list? There is not a list. Actually, I think it's a great idea of things we would plan to do. I think the list would have to be a living list because some things, as they progress, some can get moved, modified, removed, or even added. So I think that's a great idea. Maybe that's something that's definitely a conversation that probably should be had internally here. But I think that's a great idea, Jeff. As it stands right now, at least I'm basically going off of memory. I know what Mevo 2.0 has to offer, so I know what needs to be moved still. But no, I agree. I think it'd be a really cool thing. We'll probably be able to provide a list, maybe, probably just not timelines, because it just really depends on how the porting goes from app to app. Holy cow, we've got a lot of questions. Sorry, Will, it's gonna have to wait a little bit. Lance says, does it have to be live for the countdowns to work? Absolutely not. You can record and use all of the graphical overlays that the Mevo 2.0 has to offer. Michael says, why are you not centered into the frame? Now, the reason that I did this was specifically for me to do demonstrations. When I do demonstrations in the Mevo 2.0 app, the app screen sharing shows up here. That way I'm offset. I can still be seen here. You'll see it a little bit when Will goes in a multicam. We just did it a little bit in the Mevo 2.0 app. But basically, I'm off-center. That way I can create some space. That way we can share both the screen without me having to be off camera, because that would be a tragedy. Michael says, why? Oh, same question. Sorry, Michael. Great question, though, and thank you for asking. It's a great point. Hilario says, I'm about to buy this camera. I see it's very useful. I'm so glad you think so. And hopefully after this show that will give you a reason to buy maybe 2 more for the Multicam app. So that's all the questions. I'm going to go over and keep those coming. We will get back to them. But I'm going to let Will take over and show us exactly what he's got.
That's right. So things are really exciting right now in the multicam world. We just released version 1.0, which is really, really cool. Now you can add graphics and you can crop and zoom. As for your question earlier, Jeff, what needs to be done in Mevo 2.0? Right now, it's basically only the audio that needs to be done in 2.0. Everything else is now in the Multicam app. We're going to continue to work on the Multicam app, add features as time goes by. But right now, there's a lot that you can do, and I just want to demo a little bit of what's going on right now. So with Multicam, you can do 3 Mevos. As you can see, we've got a couple cameras on Joe. It's really easy to switch between them. The great part about Multicam is it lets you do all of this stuff on your phone or tablet. It works for both Android and iOS. And it's so much easier than having a computer set up and you're using OBS or Livestream Studio or anything like that. Now you can just do it really simply and portable. And you can use up to 3 Mevos. You can use Mevo first generation, Mevo Plus, or the Mevo Start. So you can really use all of the tools that you have available. So as you can see, I'm switching between cameras. I'm going to show you a quick demo of crop and zoom. And it'll just rotate just real quick. There you go. And then as you can see, we've got our wide shot, and it's super easy to control. It's just like the Mevo 2.0 app where you can tap to quickly zoom in. You can pinch and zoom to set your specific zoom level. We can spy on what Joe's doing here. And then you can do press down just like in the Mevo 2.0 app, and it'll pop up the options for cut or to quickly fast transition to that spot. Or if you want a more dynamic, slow movement, you can do slow transition. And this is kind of that extra dramatic thing, extra dramatic movement. What is Joe working on? All right, now you can just quickly go back to full wide, and I can just hit done right now to switch back, and then it'll rotate just like that. All right, and then other settings, you've got, of course, image adjustments, just like in the Mevo 2.0 app. You can set the image setting by setting. You can jump to any one of these presets, but you can do a lot of customization, and this is all really nice to have in Multicam. Just bringing it back to what Jeff was saying earlier, what you have to do in Mevo 2.0 versus Multicam, all of this stuff is now in Multicam, so you can stay in Multicam. All right, and you can also do the Mevo settings. As you can see, you can do your camera name, you can format the SD card, set the password. all of the stuff that you're used to seeing in the Mevo 2.0 app. By the way, if you're brand new to Multicam, Multicam is completely free. You can use it with a single Mevo or all the way up to 3 Mevos. And then we can go into the graphics. Now the graphics are really exciting. We just added this over the weekend, actually. I've been demoing it in the Multicam beta group, but if you're not in that group and you're first seeing it now, these are some of the things that you can do. If you're doing sports, you can do some nice, clever overlays. You can do full screen. You can do player, like if you wanted to do a sporting event and you wanted to have player names, you can even add overlay graphics on top of that. All of these graphics that I've loaded up are PNGs, which means that some of it is transparent. That allows me to do stuff like this. As a home run graphic, I can have a graphic that's switching, saying what base the players are on. You can really, really get creative. You can have player stats as they come up to the plate. We can do stuff like for House of Worship, a lot of the times they have a camera that's pointed at a screen to do the lyrics. Now you can just do an overlay just like that to show the lyrics to all of your viewers. If you're doing a gaming broadcast, you can maybe do some overlays talking about your other channels and your other social media. You can talk about the games that you're playing. You can do a lot of really cool stuff. And of course, you can get extremely creative and do a completely different border for your stream. So all of this stuff is just brand new and it's really exciting to have. And you can see these are just so easy to edit. I can just tap the 3 dots. Breaking news, Mevo graphics are amazing. Lots of customization options. I'll show you to get to this. Hit the plus, brings you to add asset, do graphic. You can do full screen overlay, lower third, over the shoulder, or corner bug. Gives you lots of optimization, lots of questions. You can set up text color, direction, alignment. You can do your background image, lots of me testing. You can change the background color. And it is so easy to customize all of these. On top of that, you can mix your Mevo sound. So this is really great. I demo this a lot doing the Multicam show where I'll have one microphone that is just my audio, and then I'll have another microphone that's maybe doing some background music. And so this is a nice thing to have. You can have background music, you could do sound effects, you could also have one for the congregation or have audio from different band members. You could also do podcasting audio, whether it is mixing the 2 microphones for each person. So there's lots and lots of customization options that you can do with the audio. With the live, you can of course stream to all your regular networks, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, Twitch, Periscope, or do a custom RTMP stream. So lots of options there. And then of course in the settings, you can do fun stuff like transition type. You can do crossfade. I'll show you a quick demo of how that's done. As you can see, I can crossfade over to the Mevo logo. And this just gives you another way to set the tone for your stream and really make it engaging for all your viewers. And that's really the name of live stream, right? You want to bring viewers in and you want to keep them engaged and keep it entertaining for all of them. So transition type is a great thing to add. We also have auto director, which is really cool. Auto director lets you set the Mevo to change automatically. So this is very similar to the Mevo 2.0 app. So you can do a preferred camera, and that means that it'll switch to this camera more than the other ones. And so if I turn that on, I can set the time between the switch for 3 seconds. And I'll show you how that's done. You can quickly see. There you go. And it's switching on its own. And this is great if you have just a single person setup and you don't have a lot of people that are available to do the switching. So it's a really great tool. Of course, you can go camera input quality from 360 all the way to 1080p high, depending on your network settings and your bandwidth available. And it's very similar for the video source latency as well. We really wanted to make it super easy and super available to everybody, whether they have a really high-powered internet connection and great network, or they have not so great. So we wanted to make sure that it works for all of them. And I do want to mention one more thing, which is the recording. And the recording is extremely cool, actually. So you can do the record to device, and this is the output. So basically, everything that is showing up in the top of the screen here, that is your output, and that'll record to the internal device, into this internal storage of the device. And it'll also do ISO recording. And ISO recording is really, really cool because it records everything that each camera is seeing onto its SD card. So this means that you always have a backup of the entire broadcast from each Mevo's perspective, even if you're not switched to that Mevo. So this is great in sports, something that you may not, something that's unpredictable, something happens on one side of the field and you didn't switch to it fast enough, you're always gonna have that recorded. So that's a really great tool. You can move all of these from the SD card into a video editing program later on. So it gives you a lot of freedom for editing later. So yeah, that's Multicam. It's really exciting. I have been using it for a long time. If you've seen the Multicam app for a while in the beta group and haven't jumped into it, now is the time. 1.0, it's out now. Android, iOS, phone, and tablet.
Thanks, Will. So I do see a lot of you asking questions specifically about our audio sync. So we're going to try to address that right now. So a lot of people have this misconception that simply because we are a camera company that we can't have issues. We can also run into some issues as well, and that's what we were doing as the video was actually off screen. I was working with Joseph. He's an audio engineer and a technical specialist. He has audio shows every Friday. So what's actually happening is with this specific setup is that we're running our audio into a single camera, but the thing is, since we are running wirelessly, the latency between the two cameras, the one that I'm using and the one that Will's using, is actually delaying the audio because his audio is going through my camera, and the latency is just slightly different, which is causing that audio sync issue. Now, the way that me and Joseph actually discussed to actually solve this issue is instead of running Will's audio through my camera, we're going to run it through his instead. That way the latency is going to match the audio in the video, and the camera is going to sync it for him instead of using my camera, which is not shooting him, and doing it that way. This way, we have two NDI sources. I can add, remove, adjust as I see fit. So once Joseph has his himself configured over there with Will's audio, then we're going to go ahead and try to maybe we'll go back through a little bit of those things again, just because I know everyone has a lot of questions for Multicam. I'm looking right now through a lot of these questions. So please, if you do have any questions, let us know. There's a lot in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do the best that I can to cover those while we try to fix that a little bit. All right, Tony says, I'm going to use Multicam app with Sideline HD this weekend for the first time. The Multicam is a big leap forward. Are there any plans to add static shots as we can in the 2.0 app? Would also be great if we could use a phone or tablet to feed audio and video. We do play highlights between innings. No, that's great, Tony, and we absolutely agree. So a lot of the Mevo 2.0 features that are going to make it to are going to actually make it to the Multicam app. That includes setting static shots, all of the audio features. You'll be able to configure. Right now, you can configure them in the Mevo 2.0 app, and they'll actually work in the Multicam app. However, in the future, you'll be able to modify the USB source, bring in Mevo mic apps, and all of those things in Multicam. But version 1 just doesn't have it, but I can promise you that those things are coming. I definitely think it'd be awesome to do like player highlights and things in between innings. That'd be awesome, especially when and if we introduce video or animations. I think that'll be solid. Steven says, hey guys, so I was asked about getting the camera connected to my soundboard and the iRig was suggested. The sound is pretty bad. Any more suggestions? So that's a great question. Depending on how you're actually getting the audio connected to your camera. If you're connecting an iRig to your Mevo Start, that's not going to work well because an iRig is a TRRS connection where you need specifically a TRS connection for the camera. So if you're trying to use an iRig with the Mevo Start, it's not going to work. You're going to have to use that iRig and go directly into a mobile device. Victor says, can you use the Mevo Start with NDI and OBS and record locally on the Mevo? I do have a Mevo First Gen. So the Mevo First Gen does not have NDI, so that's not going to be possible. You would have to use webcam mode. You can use wireless webcam mode or wired webcam mode. What would happen is you would end up running into an issue where if you use wired is you can't send audio through wired webcam mode. You would have to use wireless if you want to send audio. And then at the same time, using wireless, you should be able to record locally to the Mevo at the same time. But you can't use wired because of audio, and you can't record while using wired, and you can't use NDI because First Gen doesn't have NDI. So the only option for you to use OBS is wireless webcam mode for Windows or Mac. Juan says, is it good for outdoor use like sports and football? Absolutely. We have many users who use the Mevo camera for soccer, football, baseball, softball, pickleball, whatever it might be. A lot of people are doing that with the Mevo. And you can use something like our fence clip, which I have one right to my right here. I didn't even notice my mic is kind of covering that up a little bit. Oh well. But you can see it a little bit, right? So essentially what that is it's a stand that allows you to mount it to a chain link fence. So if that's something, if you're in a sports field or a diamond or something that has a chain link fence, you can absolutely mount it that way. Justin says, love the Multicam app. Tried to go to a paid online Facebook stream. Would go live on my page, but would not allow anyone who bought tickets access. Tried RTMP, but couldn't get that to even connect at all. Facebook tells me I haven't given permissions to allow anyone in. So what this means is if you're trying to use a page and you're not getting access, first thing I would check is to make sure you're using the latest version. If you're not using version 1.0 and you're using a beta version, then what that is a bug, which has been identified in earlier versions. So if you are having issues with permissions and privacy and things like that, then that's something that would need to be addressed. Now, if you're having RTMP and you're having issues there and you can't get it to connect, definitely open a ticket. We'd be happy to walk through those steps with you. RTMP, as long as the network's open and allows you to connect to Facebook, you shouldn't have an issue with that. So one of our technical specialists would be happy to help you. Jeff says, does Multicam require any more bandwidth to run internally or to broadcast? So it does use more internal bandwidth because you are running 3 cameras, and the cameras are sending basically data. All 3 of them are sending it to your I can't speak right now. I'm all over the place. So basically what would happen is 3 cameras would be sending, or how many cameras you're using, are going to be sending data to your phone. Your phone's going to then do all the encoding and send that back out and then stream. So the amount of data being used for a single stream and a single camera is going to be the same as if you're using 3 cameras and 1 stream. So the stream data is not going to be any different. The internal bandwidth is definitely going to be improved or increased. It's a great question. Definitely a great question. So yeah, it's just the internal bandwidth for sure. Brian says, can Mevo Plus and Mevo Start both use multicam? Absolutely. Mevo Plus, Mevo First Gen, Mevo Start, all 3 can be used with multicam, and they can be used interchangeably. So you can use them, all 3 of them at the same time if you want. It's awesome. I think that's one of the greatest things. Awesome. Keep those questions coming. Keep those questions coming. Troy says, what about the ability to play video clips? It's a great question, Troy. It's definitely something that a lot of people have recommended, and I hope eventually comes. Definitely on our list of things that we want to consider moving forward, but it's definitely a little bit further down the line as we continue to port all of the available features for Mevo 2.0. Everything that exists in Mevo 2.0, we're going to try to get over to multicam. That's the goal. And then things like video, animation, that's all stuff we would absolutely love to visit, but we want to make sure we get all those core features in there first. Just curious, how is that audio coming? Amy says, is there a recommended speed type for the micro SD card? That's a great question, Amy. Now, here's one thing that you want to take in consideration when you are using a micro SD card. Whether you're recording or streaming, the speed's really going to depend on the bitrate setting. So if you have a Mevo Start, you can actually adjust your recording bitrate all the way up to 50 megabytes per second. So what you really want to do is make sure that your micro SD card, if you use that max bit rate, is that your micro SD card can at least write. It can at least write at that 50 megabytes per second or greater. If you are doing anything less than that, then you need to make sure your bit rate doesn't exceed the capabilities of the micro SD card, because then you can run into things with broken files that you're not going to be able to recover and things like that. So if the end goal is to max out at 50 megabytes per second, make sure your card can read and write 50 megabytes per second. Now, we do sell one on Mevo.com, which can support the maximum settings of the Mevo camera. So if that's something you're looking for without having to worry about stressing out a micro SD card, maybe getting the wrong one, you can definitely get one on Mevo.com today, and we can get you one shipped out right away. It's a great question, though. A lot of people kind of overlook that bitrate setting, and that's definitely something you can do. If you're really trying to get the max quality recording, it's crisp, I'm telling you. It's the best. Jeff says, I love that you guys also have issues and you're able to use that as a teaching moment. That has helped for us to learn. And we were just actually having the same conversation, Jeff, before we actually went live. We typically go live at 2 o'clock, and we ran into some issues. We tried to adjust and address those. We were running into an issue where Will's microphone was actually capturing my audio. So when I would talk, it would capture, because I'm too loud. I'm a loud person. I know this. So we were trying to find ways and sources that essentially allowed us to make sure that he wasn't capturing my audio and you weren't hearing me twice. So we definitely run into all the same things you all do. Networks, it's not anything special. Like when it comes down to it, we have to test our network. We have to test our audio. We have to test everything. We've got a stream deck over here. We have to test that. There's so many different things. And then not to mention, we're using 3 cameras for today's show. And then we've got 3 cameras for his multicam. So we are absolutely testing everything every single day. And when it comes to doing lives, we go live 4 times a week. So when we go live, we do run into issues and we try to address them. That's why we try to give enough room. Like about 12:45 is usually when we start our testing, and then we go live at 2 o'clock. So, most of the time we don't have any issues, which is great. But then there's days like today where, the world was against us and we really had to buckle down as a team and make it happen. Luckily, we have people with all different types of backgrounds. My background's networking, his is audio, and then Will can really handle multicam and really some graphic and image adjustments. So when it really comes down to it, we've got the best team here to do it, but you're absolutely right. We have issues just like anyone else, and every issue has a solution. They're not just random. There are reasons that they're happening. We just have to identify it and then correct it. Chris Felder says, I've noticed the ISO recordings are a large file size. Let me see one thing real quick. Sorry, Chris. I just want to check one thing with my audio just to make sure we're good here. Perfect. Okay. I've noticed that ISO recordings are a larger file size than the multicam output, even if there was only one camera. Does anyone know if this will affect quality in any way, or is it just down to compression, the multicam app being better? So basically what's going to happen is the recording that you're going to see and the recording that you're going to see saved into your mobile device for the output, now that's going to be slightly different than what you're going to see on the ISO, because like I said, your recording can be a lot higher quality and it's going to be a bigger file size. And then whereas the multicam, you have about 6 megabytes per second max for a 1080p stream. So you're not going to get a bigger file, whereas a recording, you can go up to 50 megabytes per second. So as you can imagine, 6 to 50 is going to be significantly different in file size. Let's see here. Jason says, graphics in multicam will revolutionize our user experience for both sports and worship. You guys have outdone yourselves. We have a wonderful software team. Our team working hard on multicam. Of course, we do a lot of internal testing and a lot of things like that, quality assurance. So we appreciate the kind words, Jason, absolutely. And I'm hoping that that is exactly the case. We hope multicam really brings the Mevo experience to a whole new level and really eliminates the need for a computer. So, of course, we're using a computer now, but we would eventually like to use multicam for all of our productions as well. The thing is, we are currently limiting because we want to be able to share our screens to you all. So when that comes, hopefully, when it comes in multicam, we will probably be only using multicam moving forward ourselves. Robert says, great timing. What is required to connect a Mevo Start to a PC Mac to function as a conventional webcam? All right, so what is it required to connect the Mevo Start to a PC, Mac to function as conventional web? Okay, easy. Only thing that's required is to simply plug in your Mevo Start. Once you actually plug it in, you can actually go into the Mevo app, enable webcam mode, and of course you can enable it before you plug it in as well. But enable webcam mode and then plug it into a Windows or Mac computer, and it's automatically going to recognize it as a webcam. There's really no other thing that needs to happen for that to occur. Your computer needs to have UVC 1.0 or greater, but that is built in. It's included in Mac and Windows packages. So by default, your computer can handle the Mevo as a webcam. You simply need to enable it in the app, plug it in, and you'll be good to go. Now, one thing I will recommend is to avoid any kind of adapters and hubs, simply because those can complicate things. So at first, when you're doing your testing and you're trying to make sure everything works, make sure you go directly to the computer first. All right. Hanya says, any plans to permit use of iPad's audio input rather than having to patch audio into a camera? Absolutely. So if this is in regards to multicam, you could absolutely do this, and you can also do it in the Mevo 2.0 app. You can absolutely use your iPad's audio source. If you're trying to do it for multicam, what you need to do is you need to configure it in the Mevo 2.0 app, and then it will work the same way when you actually go to the multicam app. But eventually, that will be a feature you'll be able to configure yourself. However, yes, you can absolutely do this both multicam and Mevo 2.0. It's a great question. Great question. Amy says, what is the best way to connect multiple Mevos to cellular data? I set one Mevo to the Mevo hotspot and then connect the other two cameras and phones to that Mevo, but had to do this in Mevo 2.0 instead. Or is it better to hotspot my phone and connect all the Mevo to the phone? So I will say this. More times than not, your phone's hotspot is going to cause more issues than a Mevo hotspot will. However, the Mevo hotspot was not designed to handle multiple devices like you're trying to do it. So what we recommend is getting like a mobile hotspot or a hub, like a Verizon Jetpack or something similar, and connecting it to that if you don't have a local network available to you. Of course, you can try to use the Mevo hotspot. It's going to probably give a better performance than your phone's hotspot. But we really don't support that, and you could run into some issues down the road. But we just recommend you simply having a mobile hotspot with you if you're on the road or on the go, and you want to use multiple Mevo. Deborah says, I have the original Mevo and use a USB mix board for the sound with an Apple Movie connector. I can't remember the name of it. No worries. To my iPad. Then wireless to the Mevo. Works great. If I get the new Mevo and multicam, will this setup work? Yes. So once again, as long as you configure it in the Mevo 2.0 app, you can absolutely continue with your with the audio settings that you have. So configure it in Mevo 2.0, jump over to multicam, and those same settings will still apply to the camera that you configured in Mevo 2.0. So if that's the goal and that's what you want to do, you can absolutely do it. Hernando says, the Mevo 2.0 has an output volume control. The Mevo Multicam app only has individual volume control for each camera, but it does not have it. Yep, it does not have a general output control. It only has to mute everything. Question, do you plan to improve this in order? Absolutely, Hernando. Basically the same answer as Deborah and a couple of previous questions. Everything that was in the Mevo 2.0 app, we have full intentions on migrating or porting that over to the Multicam app itself. Until that all occurs, right now you have to manage everything in the Mevo 2.0 app. However, eventually down the road, when everything is introduced, you will be able to control all of it simultaneously in the app. It's a great question. Absolutely great question. Brian says, can Mevo Multicam and cameras work with Presenter 7? Can? Hold on. Multicam. Sorry, I missed that part. Multicam, you can't use with Presenter 7. You can use your Mevo as a webcam with Presenter 7, but multicam will not work as Presenter 7 because you can't output multicam as a webcam, and you can't output multicam via NDI. You can use a Mevo as a webcam with Presenter 7 or Pro Presenter 7, but you can't use either webcam or you can't use multicam with it. Thanks for the video support. No problem, Brian. Of course, if you do have any other questions, and this goes for anyone else, you can always go to help.mevo.com, and we'd be more than happy to help you walk through any of these issues or questions that you have. Now, we haven't really gotten into anything else. We do have some sales that we want to talk about today. We actually have a sale that's available at mevo.com. It's available for US only and ends 5/9/21. If you want to take advantage of these sales, you can save $20 on the Mevo Start, you can save $20 on an Ethernet power adapter, and you can save $10 on a Mevo Start case. Now, this isn't the only sale that we're currently having. You can also take advantage of the bundle sale. We have a desktop producer bundle, which comes with a Mevo Start, a table stand, and a Mevo Start case for $463.98. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't do the math on that one. not as easy to calculate in my head, but available at Mevo.com, US only, and available until 5/1. So make sure you take advantage of those. Now, if you're not looking to make any purchases anytime soon, and you really just want to continue on, and you find yourself recommending people and you kind of want to earn some money back, we also have the referral program. You can go to Mevo.com/referral or /refer and save them 5%, and you'll earn 5% in commission as well. Now, what's really cool about this, and I think it's often overlooked by people who join the affiliate program or the referral program, is you can actually create a custom coupon code. Now, this custom coupon code can be used and passed along, and the really cool thing about this is it's completely custom, so it's not like some auto-generated coupon from Mevo.com. You can actually take advantage and name it after your YouTube channel, your baseball league, football league, soccer league. You can name it after your Twitch channel, your business, whatever it might be. You can name the coupon code. That way, when you're handing out this coupon code, it seems that it's completely built for you. And your partnership with us is strong. It really gives people a vote of confidence, essentially, when you give that to them. Then, what's really cool is you're going to save them 5%. That's awesome for them. And then you're going to earn 5% commission for any of the sales that you actually have. Now, the referral program is absolutely only available in the US stores right now. Maybe that's something that will expand in the future, but I absolutely recommend taking advantage of those sales. If you do need to see the sales one more time, just throw it in the chat, let me know. I'll try to show them and the referral information before we end the stream today. I just wanted to make sure we get ahead of it now. Amy says, sorry if I missed this. Do you have to have a Vimeo producer subscription to use the overlays of Multicam app? It's a great question, Amy, and I was waiting for someone to ask it, because it was only a matter of time. As it stands right now, you do not need Vimeo Producer to take advantage of the graphical overlays in the Multicam app. So whether this changes in the future, that's to be seen. That's a discussion that's probably been had somewhere else, but not with me. But as it stands right now, you can absolutely take advantage of graphical overlays and see if you like it. You know, as Will shown earlier, there was a lot of flexibility when it came to Multicam with the transparent PNGs that you can do. I think it's a game changer. As someone had said earlier. So if you haven't gotten a chance to use it, absolutely go take advantage of it. And just a note also, you can use one single camera in Multicam. I know the word's Multicam, but you can use a single Mevo with it. You don't need more than one. And then another tip is, kind of goes along with this, I know we have wireless webcam mode, but it technically doesn't need to be wireless. You can actually run it via Ethernet as well. So those are just kind of two, the more you know kind of things. We do have names that kind of a little bit contradictory. You don't need multiple cameras, but you can use multiple cameras. And you don't need wireless. You can actually use Ethernet, as long as it's on the same network. Bert says, can you use the Mevo 2.0 app and the Mevo Multicam on the same iPad, and do you have to leave Mevo 2.0 open? Actually, you don't need to have Mevo 2.0 at all when you're using Multicam. You can have Mevo 2.0 and configure the camera that you're trying to use, and then you can kick it back to Multicam. You can even close it, correct? I just want to confirm. You can actually close Mevo 2.0 after you configure it, right? Cool. So once you do it, configure Mevo 2.0 app, the audio settings and everything, and then you can close out the app and go back to Multicam, and the settings are still going to apply. You can keep them both open, but if you're connected to it in Multicam and Mevo 2.0, it's going to tell you that it's being used. Joao, I apologize if excuse me if I butchered that. We're going to go with Pedro. It's a lot easier. I have a question. There are two versions of Mevo Multicam right now, one on Apple Play Store and the other on Test Flight. Are they the same? What version will we have right now and use the latest version? So if you want to use the latest version, you can absolutely remove Test Flight. Now, we could, down the road, we could definitely use Test Flight moving forward for internal versions that we haven't released yet. So if you want a chance to continue to test beta versions before we release it to the public, you want to continue to use Test Flight. Now, if you want the most public version that we believe to be stable, then you don't want to use the one from the Apple App Store. And that goes the same for Android user. If you're using the Google Play Store, you can select whether you want to use the beta or if you want to use the public version. Wasif says, can any Ethernet adapter be used with the Mevo? No, we actually have an article that covers about 10 different Ethernet adapters, including the Mevo Power Ethernet adapter. So not everyone can work. We have tested many that don't work, but we do have an article that covers the ones that do work. So if you go to help.mevo.com, type in Ethernet power adapter, you should find the article that refers to those. You can get ones that are self-powered or need power for the Mevo, and the Mevo Start can power that. Michael says, I really appreciate the efforts on the Mevo crew to reach out to users. It makes me feel more confident to invest the time to learn and master the features. I'm so glad to hear that, Michael. And as you can see, we still have things that we need to work on as well when it comes to mastering our set. We just configured this, and we've been trying to get it live for the last week. Now, there are a lot of things that you can learn, but really what it comes down to is testing every single variable. I use the word variable a lot. If you've ever seen any of my live streams, the word variable probably comes out of my mouth at least 10 times. The name of live streaming is not a simple process, but the Mevo makes it as simple as we can make it. But then you can also make it as complicated as you want to make it. So typically on Tuesdays, I use a single Mevo Start, and you'll rarely ever see me have issues with a single Mevo Start. Now, when I start using things with NDI and I start complicating things with a network and throwing in external audio and a lot of things like that, a lot of things can get a little bit more dicey and a little bit more complicated, and there's a lot of variables you have to think about and test. So absolutely, Michael. We want to make sure that we are continuing to be completely transparent with you and the things that we run into, because we know we're not the only ones. So if there are users having similar questions and they want to know why things work the way that they do, we're more than happy to do that, whether it's audio, networking, or image adjustments. We're here to make sure that your experience with Mevo is the best that it can be. Hanya says, quick follow-up. In order to use Start's multicam with audio input from the iPad, do we need a separate controller working in conjunction with the iPad that multicam is running on? Or do we need to configure an Mevo 2 on the same iPad we're using for multicam? That's a great question. I am not sure. I'm going to ask Will. I'm going to defer to Will on this one because I'm a little curious. I think we're still working on the camera. Let's go over and switch over.
Yeah, so for audio input, you can't use the iPad's internal microphones for multicam right now. What you can do is plug in a 3.5 millimeter TRS cable into the back of the Start. You can also do a USB audio, and so you have those two options right now. Obviously, we're continuing to build out the audio features in the multicam app, so right now those are just the two options that you have available.
Thanks, Will. I have to defer on Will a lot on these things simply because he has been inside and outside of the Mevo multicam app a lot more than me. So I do know a lot of things about it, but I do have to defer a lot about these more complicated things because he's documented about everything about the multicam app. So that's a great question, and thank you for asking it, and hopefully we'll provide a little bit more clarification on how that works. Wasif says, the Mevo Ethernet power adapter is a little difficult to get a hold of and isn't available at Best Buy. I believe, is it not in store right now at Mevo.com? I don't know about Best Buy, but I want to go to just want to check real quick. Yeah, so it's in stock right now at Mevo.com. You can actually take advantage of that $15 off sale with the power Ethernet adapter. And we should, if you order today, we'll ship it out tomorrow. So that is probably the best way for you to get a hold of it. Yeah, so hopefully you can take advantage of that. Jeff says, will the 2.0 app be discontinued in the future or stop with development of it? It looks like everything will move to the multicam app and the Mevo 2.0 might be redundant. Well, Jeff, the goal right now is not to remove the Mevo 2.0 app. We've always been wanting to run, because there's just kind of two different use cases. But who knows? Who knows what the feature holds? I could totally see a place where the Mevo multicam app has every feature in the Mevo 2.0 app, and it does seem redundant. But I could also see where users don't want to complicate things with, additional settings and a different user interface. A lot of people, as it stands right now, there has been no announcement or no plan, even internally. The discussion has been to keep both of those apps running side by side. We're going to continue to update, continue to add features, and continue to release new and kind of upkeep the firmware and everything. So as it goes right now, no, there's no plans to discontinue that app. Paulo says, I'd like to thank you for this huge last update with overlay graphics on multicam. I'm really enjoying it in the last days. Thank you guys. So glad to hear it. Paulo, I'm telling you, I definitely know Will and I had been pinged I don't know how many times on the Facebook groups asking for overlays, asking for cuts and live editing and all of that. So we're glad to get it out. You know, what that beta was really about, and I understand a lot of people wanted to get those graphics in, and as you can see, they're still not completely done. We still have a lot of work we want to get done to those. But what that beta really was, and this is probably the only metaphor I can come up with, is we really wanted to test the engine of Multicam. We wanted to get audio syncing, video syncing. We wanted to make sure there was no tearing. We really wanted to make sure everything was crisp. And the way I see it is we wanted to test the engine before we put it in the car, right? We know a lot of these things with overlays. We know that stuff works. We know live editing works. Of course, integrating it into a new user interface is a little different, but we know that these overlays and the functionality works. The core code works. Multicam, on the other hand, that was a new concept. We did not have an engine that we have tested. So we wanted to make sure it was a crisp foundation with the way Multicam worked before we introduced all of the things that we are familiar with already. So we know everybody wanted it. We are super happy to announce that it's out, and hopefully everyone gets a lot of great use out of it. Mike says, oh, Mike Marquez. It's the DJ, right? It's the DJ. DJ. I'm almost positive it's the DJ. Nice to have you, Mike. Thanks for coming out and checking it out. That is great news about the overlay pack on Multicam app. What is missing on Multicam compared to 2.0? There's actually quite a bit right now, right? So we're missing a lot of audio stuff right now. We're missing countdowns. We're missing PDFs aren't a thing yet, right? PDFs aren't a thing. There's a lot of stuff that's missing in Multicam that we have every intention on bringing over the Mevo 2.0 app. So like the PDFs are missing, countdowns are missing. We've got a lot of audio stuff that's missing. There's a lot of stuff that's there. A lot of those core functionality and even some things that, you know, the Mevo 2.0 doesn't have that Multicam brings, especially user interface wise, that I like better. But there is definitely a lot of core functionality that still needs to be moved over. And of course, we also are missing webcam mode, NDI mode. Those are also not in Multicam app. And not sure if that's going to ever come or when there's a timeline for it. So there's a lot of stuff still that sets the Mevo 2.0 app apart from the Multicam app. Robert says, can the Mevo Start be used while it is charging? Absolutely. All of our Mevo right now are absolutely charging. And especially when it comes to the PoE. The PoE actually is charging and providing Ethernet at the same time. So the Mevo can absolutely be used and charged simultaneously. Now what's really cool is it actually could keep your device cooler. And I mean cooler as in temperature-wise. Because what happens is the Mevo is going to use the power that's coming from that charger before it feels the need to pull from the battery. So if the battery's not being used, it's not getting warm. So what's really going to be cool is it'll actually use the power from the port before it uses the battery power. Robert says, is it possible to play a video or music through the Mevo Start? At this time, it is not possible. Well, okay. I'm going to say there's a caveat, I guess. It is possible. You could do it like we're doing it right now. So right now, we're using this microphone with an audio mixer, and it's going into the back of the Mevo Start. So if you watch the Multicam beta streams that Will does every Wednesday, he actually does this, and he always brings in audio. Now, what I could do is I could plug audio source into the bottom of my phone. I could broadcast that to a mixer, and then bring it into the Mevo. So, and then play the music off of this. So you could technically send music, absolutely, through the 3.5 on the back or the USB on the back through a device like a phone that has an output. Now, when it comes to video, there's not a way to do that at this time. Definitely a conversation that's been had. Once again, not really big on timelines, so couldn't really tell you if or when, but I can tell you that a lot of Mevo, not only customers, but a lot of Mevo employees would love to see that. Eric says, don't know if you answered this, but can I use my Zoom H5 with the boost for better audio? What type of connector? Thank you. So a lot of the Zoom microphones absolutely do work. I'm not familiar with the H5 itself. There are some very specific settings that you need to do when you're using a Zoom recorder, and we do have an article on help.mevo.com. So if you go to help.mevo.com and you search up Zoom, you might be able to find some pretty good articles. If you've already read through that and it's not working, maybe we can actually grab one here, go ahead and purchase one and bring one in so we can do some testing. But there are some Zoom recorders that absolutely do work. I'm just not familiar with that specific model. But if you want to open up a ticket, shoot us over the model, maybe even a link to the device that you're using, and maybe we can grab one for internal testing and let you know our findings. All right, I don't even know how long we've been going here. It's been a while. We've been just kind of kicking through this thing, huh? Let me just take a look at the time real quick. We're at 51 minutes. All right, so we had about a 3 or 4 minute countdown. So it's about time to wrap up a little bit. All right, so one more time, I want to go through these things. We do have these sales that are going on right now. You can get a Mevo Start for $20 off, a Mevo PoE adapter for $20 off, and a Mevo Start case for $10 off. I do believe, and maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm not supposed to be showing this yet because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Mevo.com. Oh, no, okay, it's $20 off. Okay, so we have a label that needs to be updated. Great. I just want to make sure. I was on Mevo.com just now, and I want to make sure it matched. Oh, I was about to get in trouble by marketing. Okay, so make sure you take advantage of those discounts. US only until 5/9. We also have the desktop producer bundle. You can save quite a bit of money here as well by buying these all as a bundle. And it's perfect for those desktop producers, whether you're a live streamer or you just are a regular Zoom or Google Meets user. I use it for all of my meetings, and we have like two or three a week that are done virtually. So Mevo's really brought us up to another level, and hopefully you can take advantage of this. And then once again, we have the Mevo referral program at mevo.com/referral. And what this does is it saves the person that you're referring 5% and earns you 5% commission. And you're going to be able to do this with a completely custom coupon code. And you really don't even have to tell the person you're referring that you're earning a kickback for this. Most people just want to know that they're saving money. I'm not saying to, get away from the question really, but they're gonna save 5%. No matter if we're having a sale or not, they're saving 5%. So go ahead, refer them, earn them earn yourself 5% commission, save them 5%, and you should be good to go with that. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for bearing with us through the audio syncing issues. We're hoping to have that all figured out. Hopefully tomorrow for the audio show. If not, then it's going to be an interesting audio show. Otherwise, hopefully we'll be back on Tuesday, as well as tomorrow for the live show, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Mevo Camera. You can make sure you like, follow, subscribe for all of the latest Mevo updates, all of the alerts when we go live at Mevo Camera at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Our marketing team makes sure you get all of the sales and all of the newest updates there. So as always, everybody from Mevo, we appreciate you all tuning in. And until tomorrow's live stream tomorrow with Joseph. I kind of went and live stream tomorrow, live stream with Joseph. All right, anyways, once we get all that stuff done and we're live tomorrow with Joseph at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will see you all then. Thank you all for tuning in.